Okay guys, who'd you hear again? Right here. Right here. We just got back from our adventurous little flight this afternoon, or evening. And here's the UMX E-Flt P-51. I'm picking up that nasty cough. I have a feeling I'm going to come down with that bronchitis. Anyway, as you recall, that was a pretty adventurous flight out there. By the time I started flying, I think the forecast was saying 13 mile an hour, 12, maybe 12 mile an hour winds with up to 15 to 16 gusts. By the time I finished the flying, I think the telephone anyway said it was down to 9 or 10 miles an hour with 13 mile an hour gusts. But regardless, you saw what the airplane was doing up there, bouncing around. And I was very fortunate that the airplane came back in very, very good shape. I mean, yeah, it hit the ground a couple of times. Sure, I hit the power lines, you saw that. But the damage on the thing was mostly cosmetic. So here it is now. I did do some work on it. I've been here a while. And one of the things it had on it was, it had a little, you might not be able to see it. The light has to be just right, but it had a little bit of a, there you can barely see it. A little bit of a ripple just inside of that black line. Just a tad bit of a ripple where it actually impacted the power line. I was able to put a heat gun on it, some warm water after I took the wheels and I took the prop off. And I warmed it up a little bit and massaged it, and I got that out. It looks really nice now. I mean, it still has a physical, visible scar, but it's not dented in like it was. There was also a little bit out here on the wingtip. You can just barely see an indentation there. It was a little bit bigger before. So I smoothed that out. One of the things that it did do, and I don't know if it was, I don't even think it was an impact that did it. I noticed when I was just flying the first time, the gun nubs, the little foam nubs for the guns, they just bend real easy. I mean, they're just very loose, very flexible, and by the time I got back to the car with this thing, I think 4 out of the 6 were missing. I had 1 left on each wing. So what I ended up doing when I got back here is I cut them off. I just cut off the last remaining nubs. And what I ended up doing was, I don't know if you can see this very well, I took some toothpicks and with some glue I drove the pointy ends into the foam where the guns used to go, and I cut the ends off flush for the barrels of the guns and painted them black. So as you can see, I now have new guns on my leading edges, painted black. Now they're only like a little more than a 1/4 inch long. I mean, there's as much pointy end sticking into the wing as you see exposed on the outside, so I didn't go in much. But I glued them in there, so now I have my guns back. I took the prop off and I straightened it out because it had been bent back. I warmed it up and straightened it out. I rebalanced it. It didn't need to be balanced, but I balanced it. And I glued the spinner back on. Now, the interesting thing is before, out of the box, the spinner had a wobble to it when I spun the engine. It had this terrible wobble to it. But I took that as just being the foam. But now that I glued it back on and I straightened the prop and everything back out, that wobble is gone. So I have a better, I got a better balance on my spinner. It's not really balance, but it's a cleaner spin than I had originally. So actually I have a more improved airplane now than I had before I went out flying tonight. But what did I learn today? I've read a lot of reviews on this airplane, and A lot of people say that this is a really great flying airplane in the wind. It flies in the wind great. I've heard people say they have no trouble throwing this up in the air between 10 and 15 miles an hour. Well, you heard me out there complaining big time with the wind about that much. But as you saw, and I'll have to admit it, when I got this thing up in the air high enough to where I wasn't trying to fight it away from obstacles, it held its own pretty good. You saw that AS3X struggling in that, we're talking 15 to 16 mile an hour gusts up there, and you saw that airplane wiggling all over the place, almost in a hover. So that was that AS3X working. If that AS3X wasn't in there, that plane would have been gone like a kite without string. It really would have been. And I was able to, once I figured out how to get that thing around, blowing down wind, turning it underneath the power lines so I wouldn't hit them again, and got it lined up on the road, even in that wind, I was able to manipulate it down to the ground most of the time. There was 2 times where it kind of come down in a bad spot, but most of the time I was able to get it on its wheels. One time, if you saw it, I don't know how well the camera filmed it, it was almost in a hover over the road, and I virtually came close to just setting it down, but it was gusting, so it would go forward a little bit, then it would hover a little bit. So all in all, it handled that quite well. So it can handle that kind of gusty wind. It can do it. It's just not fun. It's not something you want to go out and do. It is a chore, and it is something to avoid. So I'm not going to take this thing out in that kind of wind anymore. It's nice to know that it can handle it. Surprisingly, I mean, it only weighs as much as a couple sheets of paper, it seems like. And these flight controls are almost like wafers, but I'm surprised. But it did handle itself pretty good. But from now on, I'm not going to take this thing out unless the wind is less than 8 miles an hour max. If you have an option, don't take it out and test it in 15 mile an hour, 16 mile an hour gusts. It will work. Take everybody's word for it, but don't risk it, because you never know. Like I said, I flew it right into the power lines first thing, and I saw that coming. I saw the power line there. I knew 5 seconds before I hit those power lines, I said that's going to be close. And instead of trying to dip down below it, I tried to sneak between them, the wires, and that didn't work out. But everything's all good in the end. Okay, what you see in the background over here, that's another plane I'm working on. If you remember from an earlier post, I get all these winter builds I'm doing. This is one of my other FMS Blue Angels, F-18 64 millimeter. So this is the older version. This is a version 2, but it's a three-cell 5-bladed fan. I have one just like it that I had rebuilt. I numbered it number 5. This is number 6. I'll show you that one. It's all together except for putting on the rails and the nose cone. Right now I'm working on the cockpit. I'm working on the magnet, trying to get it lined up. It wasn't really lined up when I put it together. And I'm also detailing the cockpit, just like I did the other one, just like I did number 5. I printed off on paper a full instrument panel display. I'm going to put a coat of packing tape over it so it gives it a little bit of a gloss. I painted on the deck there the pilot. You know, he's already sitting in there, but I painted the rest of him looking down on him, sitting in there with whole operating controls. I painted the side consoles. I'm going to finish the helmet, give it another coat of yellow, and I'm going to put the visor seams on the helmet and some of the side knobs. I'm going to put the Blue Angel deco on the back of the helmet, and I'm going to give him gold visors just like I did on my other one. And the gold visors, by the way, are made out of milk carton. I find the curved part, a sharp curved part in the milk carton, the half-gallon milk carton, and I cut out the visors so they already got that curve to go around his face. I cut them to size, I glue them on his face, and then I paint them gold. And then we'll resolve the issue with the magnets, and put the canopy back on, and that thing will be ready to go. What I'm going to do on these is I'm going to put all of my 64mm jets, because they're 4 channels and you're only using flight controls for 2 of them. The flight controls are going to be the ailerons and the elevators. It's a bank and yank plane, so the rudder channel is only for the nose wheel steering, which I intend to not use much. I'm going to tape the bottom and do belly land this thing with hand launches, because we don't have a good runway setup. So I decided to go with a 4-channel Spectrum receiver. It's got that diversity receiver. It's 4 channels, so it's very small. Look, this is my thumb. This is the size of the receiver. But it is 4 channel. Of course, it has that battery connector as well. It will fit in these airplanes really easy. And I'm going to put one in each of those airplanes. This is the airplane that I ordered about a year ago to replace the one that I damaged. And you can't get these anymore. They're all out of them. And I probably found one of the last ones remaining out there, because it's the 5-bladed FMS version. But I ended up ordering parts and rebuilding the other one anyway. That's why I have 2 of these now. This is brand new out of the box, even though they haven't made these things in many years, and you can't even find them anymore. But I just finished putting it together. But that's my FMS number 6 5-bladed fan 3S. Over here on the shelf is my original one you saw in my last post. That's number 5. Originally number 6, but I turned it into a 5. So this is the exact same model. This is a rebuild. This is the one I had all the insides, and the canopy is one from a crashed one. And I replaced all of the wings and the flight surfaces and the fuselage. This is an old gray FMS fuselage. I painted it blue, and I ordered decals for it. That's that one. I already put together. This one here is a 4S 11-bladed fan, gray, same airplane. It's just 4S and 11-bladed. This is an upgraded version. It's out of the box 4S. It's out of the box 11-bladed fan. FMS. This one too is all together. So that's 3 F-18s. That one way over there. Yes, come in. There you go. 3 F-18s. And I have one more to build. Because you see these two, the 3S 5-bladed fan Blue Angels I also have. And here, the Force RC 4S 11-bladed fan Blue Angel. It's just like the gray one as far as being a 4S and 11-bladed fan, only it's the Blue Angel version. FMS makes the gray version, and Force RC is rebranded the same airplane for the Blue Angel. That's my next build. Well, I'm going to have 4. I'm going to have 4 of these F-18s. So 2 of them are going to be 4-bladed 4S 11-bladed fans, and 2 of them are going to be 3S 5-bladed fans. So I'm going to be, and the whole purpose there is I may wreck one. I've not really had much success with these EDFs, and hopefully they all 4 last, but I expect that maybe one of them is going to get lost before I get a good handle on the rest of them. This is my second timber. I've already got a video of putting this together, but I haven't uploaded it. So my original timber and my second timber. And then these are my 2 Harbor Freight P-51s. And that's all I got right now. Of course, I have my Inductrix little whoop quad. I got that. And that's really about it. That's all I got for now. That's all I'm going to have for a while. Before I buy anything else, I'm really going to determine how well I can handle these EDFs. And if I can handle them well, I might get a 70mm retract. I might not. Oh, I didn't. Hanging up on the roof is the FMS 1450 millimeter P-51. Full retract, full flaps. This is the red tail version. How this compares in size to the UMX. Big difference. That's the UMX. Okay, so that's my whole fleet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 not yet built, and of course the Inductrix. And there we have it. Alright guys, thanks for watching.